Hi, everybody. Today I want to talk about how important it is for us to be strong music programmers. By the way, welcome to Tuesday DJ Gig Tips, brought to you by Vibo, the music planning app. Now, I don't know if you can see it or not, but I got a cut on my forehead. It happened in my sleep. I don't know if it was my nails or her nails, but it's there and I'm aware of it. And yeah, so that's the explanation of the cut. If you can see it, I don't know if you can or not. Say that? Anyway. Music programming, yeah, this is a big deal. As DJs, we need to be better at it than the average partygoer, which is difficult sometimes today because if I think back to really it's last century, right? Before the year 2000, DJs were the music programmers. It's what we did. You get a request here and there, but for the most part, you set the mood. Sometimes you get a good DJ, sometimes you get a crap DJ, sometimes you get a DJ at a party, but that was the person who kind of set the mood and set the pace for everything. Right? That's what they did. They had the music and they played the music. And around 2000, I guess, is when Napster came out and people could just download all this music. All the stuff that wasn't accessible to them before that. I mean, easily accessible to them for free. Then you had iTunes that came out and people were doing that whole thing and grabbing tracks, pay to download, but they were grabbing their favorite songs. Now we're onto streaming services. Spotify, I think YouTube has a music service. A lot of music services out there that will play music for you. You tell it what you want to play and it plays it. It will suggest songs to you. It's a program. But this program is suggesting music to people. Sometimes it's effective, sometimes it's not. But if you like this, you'll probably like this, is what the program is suggesting based on your listening habits. So now everybody thinks that they're a music programmer. And they are, in the regard that they're programming for themselves and their personal tastes. Because most of the stuff they're listening to either in the car or on personal listening devices at the gym or something like that. That's why when we go to events, sometimes we just get this huge wave of requests from people. They just keep coming up and asking for things and asking for things. It's all stuff on their personal playlist. And most people, most common partygoers, don't understand that just because they like it doesn't mean that other people won't like it. I think the first step of programming is to kind of figure out what works for a mixed audience. What types of songs? Maybe you put a list together of a few hundred songs that are acceptable for a mixed crowd. Maybe you cheat and you go to a list of songs and you find these songs. And these are the most popular requests. And you play those. The next step is to put these songs in an interesting order, because that matters. Not only the order you put the songs in, but the way you mix them makes a big difference. But to go beyond that, because you're putting requests and things in, to go beyond that, I think you've got to figure out how you can not sound like every other DJ out there who's doing the exact same thing. I don't like to sound like everybody else. The reason I don't want to sound like everybody else is because, I want to be unique. The reason I want to be unique is because I want people to hire me because of what I do. Not because I'm doing the same thing everybody else is doing, because I'm doing something unique. And yeah, I'll admit that I'm probably more knowledgeable about music than the average DJ. Average DJ. There are some DJs out there who run circles around me. But that doesn't mean that you can't start thinking about putting some really cool things into your sets that your audience isn't expecting. I mean, my worst nightmare is to do a gig where a bunch of people in the audience know what I'm going to play next. I've become predictable. Oh, well, he's going to play this next. Oh, he's going to play this after that. He's going to play this after that. I don't want to be that DJ. Yeah, there are things I have to play that a lot of DJs play. A lot of the line dance stuff. It's requested. I play it, I may not play it at the same time that the other DJs play it, but I play it. But let's say that I'm doing an EDM set. Let's say that I have 6 songs that I'm thinking about, an EDM set that everybody kind of knows and asks for or whatever. It's fun to think about that song, that Get A song, from 10, 12 years ago that everyone liked 10, 12 years ago and no one's heard since. It's fun to put that song in there. Hey, that's different. Hey, we weren't expecting that. Hey, I haven't heard this song in years. That's fun. So, yeah, I don't think I'm obscure. I did a DJing TV broadcast with Dan Carpenter a few days ago. He was asking for songs for Cocktail, and I was giving some, I guess, unusual tracks for Cocktail. And he said to me, well, it sounds like you play kind of the weird, obscure, deep dive stuff. And I said, well, I don't want to sound like everybody else. So that's why I do it. I don't want to be obscure to my audience. I don't want to play things that are over my audience's head. But I do want to play things that they weren't expecting to hear. And present them in a way they weren't expecting to hear them. And I'd like it to be a pleasant experience. I don't want it to be frustrating. Sometimes when DJs cut the song too short, it's frustrating. Sometimes if the DJ mixes the tracks in the same fashion all night long, it becomes predictable and frustrating for the audience. Here he goes again. He's going to mix in here and he's going to come in there. He's going to cut the song here. He's going to cut the song after the second verse or right at the bridge or whatever the case might be. And the DJ does the same thing all night long. Even that, I think it's really important to mix up the way you mix your tracks. Don't be predictable. Throw some stuff out there. Cut some short sometimes, but go long. You don't always have to beat mix. Sometimes you could do other types of mixing. Constantly switch it up. Keep it interesting. Be more interesting than somebody's Spotify playlist. And be better than somebody's Spotify playlist. There's also that monkey see, monkey do thing that happens. I'm thinking about tracks that I think as DJs, in my market anyway, we kind of universally decided they were overplayed and stopped playing them over 20 years ago. Celebration by Kool and the Gang comes to mind. Overplayed. Every DJ played it at every event. And yeah, hey, let's just stop playing that song. In my world, that's kind of what everybody said. I've brought it back recently. Because no one's heard it in a long time. In my world. And mom gets real excited. And grandma, hey, this is a great song. And they go out and dance to it. And their kids might be, what is that? I've never heard that before. And mom's like, get out here and dance with us. And the kids come out. And then you've got this thing happening. Even if the kids didn't know the song. The adults know the song. And the adults are bringing the kids out. And it becomes this mesh of people dancing all together. These generations together. And then you followed up with something fun. I don't know. I always like to follow it up with We Are Family by Sister Sledge. And by the way, if you say We Are Family, you're hilarious, man. You're saying it just like the people who requested say it. They enunciate that family part. Anyway, I don't know. I just feel like if you really want to be successful at this, if you want to be good and you want people to like you, not only do you have to set yourself apart, but you have to do it in a way that your audience likes. So there's a fine line there. You're going to make mistakes here and there. You're going to throw a track out there maybe that isn't going to work. And sometimes that happens and you say to yourself, I'm never going to play that song again. Hold on a minute. It didn't work for that audience. Maybe it's when you played in the evening. Maybe it's how you mixed it into the set. There are times when I'll do a wedding on a Saturday and I'll get a request for a song. And I'm like, hey, this is a great song. I wouldn't have thought to play it. And it works great. The audience goes nuts. I put it in my head, hey, I'm going to play it next week because it went over so well this week. And then next week comes along, you play it, and it bombs, man. People walk off the dance floor. Some people say to themselves, oh, yeah, I'm never going to play that song again. Oh, hold on a minute. It could have been the audience. It could have been where you put it in the evening. Maybe you didn't build up to it. It's part of programming, right? You got to build up to things sometimes. You can't just throw them out there willy-nilly. That's Spotify. We can't do that. Not when we're playing for a mixed audience. You got to be clever about it. And you got to figure out, when you should do this stuff. It's all part of the art of what we do. Now, I know DJs who do relatively short events. I talk about my friend Jay Brennan a lot. The time allocated for dancing at the venue, he plays that quite a bit, is incredibly limited. I mean, like, maybe a 2-hour thing, maybe not even. And when you're playing for 2 hours, you really want to give them a lot for their money, and there's not a big margin for error there. You want every track to be a banger. I'm fortunate enough to live somewhere where I'm doing 4 or 5 hour sets at my gigs of dancing stuff. So I can afford to take some chances, and I can win my audience over early in the evening and then try some things that, I don't know, maybe I wouldn't normally play, and learn in that regard. If you're in the position where you don't feel like you can take chances at your events and you only want to play the tried and true bangers because of, your allocated time, something I would suggest would be to find yourself a bar gig during the week if you can. Now, some of these bar gigs don't pay a lot of dough, and that's always been the complaint. And it's a valid complaint. It's $150 or whatever it happens to be. That's true. But on the other hand, the experience that you gain and the chances that you can take with the bar crowd are priceless. You learn so much from doing these kind of events. So if you have the opportunity to take a job like this, it might help you out. It might help you expand your musical palette and figure out what people are responding to that you don't want to take a chance at a wedding. Just an idea. So yeah, it's important to be a strong music programmer, and it's something that's really hard to explain or teach. It's something you just have to kind of pick up and learn for yourself. It's going to be different from region to region and party to party. But hey man, the more you know, right? You get better at this as time goes on. I've been doing this for a long time. That's why I can do what I do. If I'd been doing this for 5 years, I don't know how good I'd be at this. So be patient with yourself, but don't be afraid to get out of that 200 song comfort zone that maybe you've been in for a while. Take those requests. Take mental note as to what works well when it gets requested. Try it again somewhere. Don't get discouraged if it doesn't work at every event. Try it again and again and again when you can. And, I don't know. Up your game. That's it. Turn the camera off. Thanks so much for watching. I really do appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Practice and enjoy.